Wages are stagnant, the wealth gap is exploding, automation is decimating jobs, refugee crises are springing up around the world, climate change is killing the planet, fascists are taking power all around us. The future does not look bright right now. Now, if you're okay with the direction that humanity is taking, or if you think the solution is more capitalism or more fascism, well, now's the time for you to stop this video, click thumbs down, and leave a shitty comment that nobody will ever read because I shadow ban people like you for my comments because I hate free speech, and I don't want anyone to have free speech because I'm a dirty communist. If you are worried though, and if you're suffering, or if you're tired of watching others suffer, if you want things to change, if you want to fight fascism and save the friggin' world, well, stick with me because the revolution begins right now. Recently, there's been a lot of activity out there that's really had me thinking. In the news, we're seeing fascists taking power all over the place, most recently in Brazil. Rioters are storming the streets by the thousands in Paris. Refugees are clambering at the border of my own home country, the USA. And here on Leftist YouTube, we've had Thought Slime drop a video about how we need to be more aggressive in our fight for liberation. ContraPoints made an incredible call to action about the immediately cataclysmic threat of global warming. And then there's Angie of Angie Speaks. Now, Angie's a wonderful anarchist YouTuber who you should probably be subscribed to if you're not already, and she has been hitting it hard lately. Over the last week or so, she's hosted a series of thought-provoking interviews, and just a few days ago, I had her over here on Non-Compete, where she delivered a fiery and passionate and eloquent and inspiring and disturbing clarion call, and I think it's something I really needed to hear.
There are plenty of people who will fucking coddle the shit out of you, but I for sure I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. So if you're feeling a little sad right now and this is making you feel uncomfortable, click the fuck off. I'm here to say what I have to fucking say, and I'm gonna say it in the way that I know to say it, and I'm gonna express how I'm feeling. And if that makes you feel some type of way, then obviously you're not ready for this kind of thing. But for those of you who are, and for those of you who understand, just know that I'm there with you in that darkness. And we will emerge from it, but we have to understand it. There is plenty of hope on the horizon. There's plenty of wonderful, wonderful things that are yet to come for us on the left. But we have work to do first. We have work to do on ourselves, and we have work to do in the real world. So let that be the thing that sustains you. And understand that if we do that work, things will get better. I don't think people understand how fragile human faculties are and how easy it is for things to go wrong. People think that their anxiety, their depression, any kind of these things are unique to them. They're not. As somebody who struggles with a pretty brutal form of OCD, who's depressive, who also has to deal with all the shit from society of being poor, of being black, of being a woman, I'm not fucking interested, mate. We can't coddle each other in this. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be empathetic towards our difficulties. That's not what I'm saying. So don't nobody put those words in my mouth. I'm saying we cannot stop there. You know one thing? I suffer from mental illness. And whenever I sink into a deep depression, I get scared. Because I'm like, if I stay here, this is death. If I stay here, this is death. You understand? So whatever it is I need to do to claw myself up out of that situation is what I do. And I feel like so many people get stuck in the mire. And the thing about depression is it never really goes away. You have to live despite it. You have to live despite it. You can't let it drag you down. You can't let it hinder you from experiencing the fullness of life, the fullness of your relationships with other people. Any therapist will fucking tell you that for money. I'm here telling it to you for fucking free. For fucking free. It's not an excuse anymore. We have to stand up. You think that the people fucking fighting in Rojava don't have mental illnesses? You think that the people who are starving in Africa don't have mental illnesses? You think the people underneath Bolsonaro's regime don't have mental illnesses? And you as a fucking Westerner want to come and tell me about some fucking bullshit? And those people are still fighting. Those people still have hope for their futures. I'm sorry, but I'm not here to coddle you bitches. I'm not here to fucking coddle you bitches. I'm here to sound the fucking alarm. I'm here to sound the fucking alarm and tell you to wake up in a loving way.
Yeah.
In a way that's loving, unless you know that I'm still here and I understand. Because I'm going through the exact same fucking thing myself.
See, it was a kick in the ass for me personally, and it inspired me to make this video you're watching right now. Because Angie is right. It's past time to take this struggle more seriously. It is time to act. One of Angie's recent guests was a gonzo journalist named Dr. Bones. Interesting fellow. Dr. Bones describes some parallels between leftism and messianic religion in this pretty poignant clip.
I see a lot of overlay on the left between Christianity. You have a lot of Christians that are waiting endlessly for the rapture. Well, a lot of leftists are waiting endlessly for the revolution. It's always right around the corner. It's always so close. And if you just be good, and if you just believe the right things, you get to go to red heaven. Well, Marx was writing that the revolution was going to happen in 1848.
Yeah.
So at what point do we start building the world that we want to live in now?
Now this thought, this notion, this idea, it hit me right here, right in the microphone, because it was another wake-up call. It was very close to home. It was too fucking true. We have to stop waiting around for the revolution to come to us. It's not going to come to us. We have to go out and bring it into reality. Now, we have to stop believing that reading old books and stockpiling theory and preaching to our own little choir is gonna get us anywhere but dead on this dying planet. Now, just a side note, if you're a liberal and you're watching this and you think that there's any hope of fixing things within the systems we already have in place evolutionarily through the democratic processes, let's get real. The capitalist elites who run the show, who have been running the show for decades, they've shown an alarming lack of concern for the destruction they're inflicting on the environment in the name of their own greed. They have demonstrated for centuries a heartless willingness to violently oppress and exploit the working poor of the world. Do you think that gradual, evolutionary, incremental change is going to serve us in time for these disasters that are already occurring around us and that are barreling towards us faster every day? That's a big nuh-uh. No, these systems need to be dismantled. The ruling class needs to be dismissed. They need to be all just told to go home. Your services are no longer required. You're fired. And it needs to happen now. The sooner, the better. It's time for revolution. That's not really the kind of revolution I'm talking about here, at least not for a while. The truth is, we're really not ready for that kind of revolution, and we probably won't be for a very long time, at least not in the United States where I'm from. But that doesn't mean that we have to just sit on our asses and wallow passively in alienation and anxiety and depression until the Messianic revolution finally arrives and saves us all. We gotta save ourselves. I mean, trust me, I know a thing or two about anxiety and depression. I have both of them in spades. I know how easy it is to wall yourself off in hopelessness and despair, but as Angie said, we don't have time for that right now. Now is the time to stand up and take action. I just wanted to add this part because I'm concerned that some people might see what I'm saying here as ableist, and that is not my intention. Some people have, really bad disabilities and illnesses. There are people who are incapable of doing anything to fight for their own liberation, and that should just be all the more impetus for the rest of us to figure out how we can make ourselves more productive and contribute more to this struggle. Now, if you fall under the category of completely unable to contribute anything at all because of any form of disability, then I hope that it's pretty clear and obvious that you're not who I'm talking to or about in this video. And to imply otherwise is a pretty bad faith interpretation, I think. Most of us can do more and must do more, and that includes finding ways to address our roadblocks, whether it's disability or illness or anything else. And we need to get rid of things that are standing in our way so that we can fight more for the liberation of our less abled comrades. So to be absolutely clear, I am not trying to downplay mental illness. I've suffered from it myself, and I know how debilitating it can be. But we can't just throw up our hands in the air and say, oh, well, some people are depressed and anxious, so asking leftists in general to fight for liberation is unreasonable. To me, that smacks of liberalism, and it's going to get us all literally killed as our planet melts around us. When I think about these kinds of problems, I can't help but think about the people of Vietnam where I live, who suffered centuries of oppression. First, they were conquered by the Chinese, then they were colonized by the French. terrorized by the Japanese, then bombed into oblivion by the USA. They must have been depressed. They must have felt anxiety. They must have felt desperate and hopeless, and yet they still stood and fought and won their own liberation for themselves. Our working class ancestors fought and struggled for a 40-hour work week, even as they were toiling away for 60 or more hours per week in terrible conditions. I mean, don't you think that they also struggled with anguish and illness and disability? Recently in the UK, disabled people took to the streets to demonstrate against austerity. These are some of the most vulnerable people in society, and yet they were able to fight and organize. Ultimately, there's only one person who knows your capacity and ability to participate in revolution, and that is you. If you honestly and thoroughly can't get active, then I hope you take some solace in the fact that there are others of us who will. And I hope you understand that you are not the target audience for this video. But if you can do more, I'm telling you, you must do more. You have to find ways to lift yourself up and push yourself forward. And again, that probably means finding other comrades to support you in making it happen. So what can you do? Hell if I know. It depends entirely on who you are and where you are and what resources you have available. I think the most important resources for a revolutionary activist are time and money and privilege. Now, if you have money, spend it on the cause, spend it on liberating people who need to be liberated. Support bloggers and YouTubers and activists and organizers that are fighting for liberation. Support working class comrades who have less than you. Buy supplies to support your community when disaster strikes, because disaster will strike. If you have time, spend it on the cause. Get out there and organize. Start a YouTube channel or a blog yourself. Agitate, train, study, build shit. And then there's privilege. Now, if you're a white guy like me, I'm especially talking to you right now, but this applies to anyone who's cis or heterosexual or white or has any form of privilege that other comrades don't have. If you're lucky enough when it comes to demographics that you're considered the norm in today's society by some criteria or another, well, you owe it to the less fortunate comrades who are being left behind by society to platform them and support them and amplify their voices. Seek out activists who are either ethnic minorities or disabled or trans or otherwise in a worse social position than yourself and help them out. Encourage them, support their work, support their lives, liberate them. That's what this is all about. If you don't feel like you have any of these resources, then you need the revolution most of all. If you're spending all your waking hours at work struggling to make ends meet and you have no time, you have no money to spare outside of work, well, then you need to find ways to resist while you're at work. Radical Reviewer did a great video on this, and I wrote a blog about it as well. I'll link to both of those in the description. And if you need the support of comrades with more privilege or more time or more money, don't be afraid to ask for assistance. We should be here for you, and if we're not, well, you need to find better comrades. Look, I know most of you are working class, and I know you're tired. I know you're afraid of losing what little you already have. I have those same fears myself. I might not have it as bad as you, that's true, but I do have anxiety. I'm not sure how I'm gonna pay the rent at the end of every month. And I have no idea if all of this is going to be successful or if I'm gonna be losing everything in the next month or two. I am also not on stable ground. I know it sucks, but I know that if I don't fight, then our failure is guaranteed collectively. I know that there are comrades out there suffering more than I could ever imagine right now and literally dying. And that this is not a game, it's not a hobby, it's not a lifestyle. This is a war that our oppressors are waging on us, and we have to fight for our survival.
Well, I am king. Oh, king, eh? Very nice. And how do you get that, eh? By exploiting the workers, by hanging on to outdated imperialist dogma which perpetuates the economic and social differences in our society.
And this is gonna be a little metaphysical, but I want to talk briefly about the spirit of our revolution. I think this is a pretty important aspect of revolutionary activity, and it's something that leftists of the past talked about a lot more and that we're kind of losing sight of and neglecting in the present day. Now, the culture we live in today is filled with snark and bitterness and just shittiness. Peter Coffin talks about this a lot in videos about perpetual correctness and cultivated identity. He talks about it a lot in his book as well. The general attitude of our generation seems to be one of arrogance and sarcasm, and as leftists, we just need to knock this shit off and distance ourselves from it as much as possible. We need to be earnest, and we need to be real, we need to be genuine. Now, I've seen far too many leftists adopt what I can best describe as a 4chan demeanor. These supposed leftists confuse edgelording with wit. They throw around ableist words. They generally cultivate this tedious aloofness that's just incredibly unproductive. If all you're concerned with is shitting on things and making yourself look superior, how's that supposed to help anyone who's suffering? How's that going to help anyone or anything besides your own fragile ego? I mean, my ego's pretty fragile too, but I'm just saying, look, let's just knock that shit off, okay? Now, look, I can be sarcastic myself sometimes. I understand what it's like to have that kind of acerbic sense of humor, but there's a difference between, you know, a little good-natured sarcasm and just being an asshole edgelord who likes to go around and piss people off just for the sake of pissing people off. That's annoying and it's counterproductive. So if we're going to cultivate our identities, let's try to cultivate them in a direction that's productive. I try to incorporate 3 aspects into my revolutionary activity. The first is productive anger. Now let's not split hairs. The world that we live in pisses me off. I'm angry that people are starving when there's plenty of food. I'm angry that we have to work long, hard hours to serve a ruling capitalist class. I'm angry because Donald Trump. There's a lot to be angry about, okay? But the danger of unbridled and unfocused anger is that it turns into bitterness. It can lead to depression and hopelessness and stagnation. We have to try to channel these feelings into a more productive anger, a righteous anger, anger that motivates us and drives us to act. It's very difficult to make your anger productive when you're isolated and alone. Trust me, I've been there. We need to work together, we need to be together, we need to talk to one another, commune with each other, and inspire each other. The more we interact with each other, the more we spur each other on, the more productive we can become. Don't wallow alone with directionless rage, talk to other leftists, and help each other find direction. This brings us to the joy of living. Many of us focus our hopes and dreams on what might be possible after the revolution. We're so focused on the dismal circumstances of the time we live in and the glorious prospects of some hypothetical post-revolutionary society that we do not allow ourselves to find joy in the here and now. Make no mistake, the world we live in is all kinds of fucked up, and it might feel as if there are few sources of joy in living if you're poor and oppressed by capitalist society. This is why we have to find joy in the work of revolution in and of itself. We have to celebrate the cause we fight for. We have to find fulfillment in every act of resistance and organization we bring to fruition. When it comes to the joy of living, or the joie de vivre, as the French probably don't say, I probably butchered that, but anyway, when we're thinking about that stuff, I find the writing of LIbertad, a late French anarchist, very inspiring. Talking about the revolution, LIbertad had this to say: life has not a goal, it is. Why wish for a goal, a beginning, an end? In present society, made foul by the conventional defecations of property, of patriotism, of religion, of family, of ignorance, crushed by the power of the government and the inertia of the governed, I wish not to disappear, but to throw upon the scene the light of truth, to provide a disinfectant to it by any means at my command. Again, finding joy in life is much easier when we strive for it collectively. Do what you can to bring cheer to your comrades, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you're feeling low yourself. Our strength as leftists will always be one another. We must reject capitalist notions of individualism and support one another. Otherwise, we're all doomed to the inactivity that comes with alienation and despair. That's what the ruling class is counting on. Finally, there's serenity. This is the most difficult aspect to adopt, but it's the most important. We have to find serenity and balance in our revolutionary activity. In all the chaos and struggle of our daily existence, we have to find peace within ourselves. We have to be able to calm our minds and rest and take time to recharge when we're near our breaking point. And believe me, I know it's easy to get to that breaking point when you're in these circumstances. And this can be easier said than done. But that's why it needs to be given high priority in our personal fight. Never be afraid to take a break and administer self-care. And again, never be afraid to open your door and ask for help and solace from your comrades. What is to be done? I know that this all seems overwhelming, it's scary, I'm scared to hell myself, and maybe you don't know what you can do. Maybe you feel like there's nothing you can do, but that's bullshit. I'm gonna outline now the things that we must be doing right now, starting at this very moment. So just pick any or all of these and get to it. Now, in the shortest term, we need to agitate, we need to educate, we need to grow our numbers. Agitate by spreading the word about leftism. Put up posters and stickers in your community, write shit on bathroom stalls, confront friends and coworkers with the situation, and force them to think about what's happening to this world, what's happening in our lives. Share links to leftist YouTube videos and leftist podcasts and blogs, retweet leftist messages, and signal boost the words and the demands and the problems of your comrades who are more oppressed than you are. Talk to your coworkers, or if you don't talk to them, if you can't talk to them, then leave booklets or flyers or brochures lying around the workplace. Calculate your risks and then take them. Slow down at work, steal office supplies. We talked about this a lot in the video that Radical Reviewer did for my channel. Again, there's a link to that in the description, but just do not participate in capitalism, or at least minimize your participation as much as you can. Now, this all seems like petty stuff, and it is, but it adds up. And as we all start to do more things like this, as we all resist more and more, the effects become cumulative and they compound on each other. And as you agitate and educate and draw people to the left, you'll have that exponential impact, because those people that you reach are going to become activated, and they're going to reach out, and they're going to find even more folks and bring them to the left, and that is how the left will grow. Now, let's talk about organizing. This is vital activity, and we need much more of it. If you can connect with other leftists on any level and in any capacity, all the better. You can reinforce and support and strengthen one another. If there's one thing that leftists should be good at, it's collectivizing. It should be working together. After all, that's what all of this is all about. Forget about that capitalist, individualist culture you've been steeped in your whole life. I know you probably have social anxiety. I have tremendous social anxiety. I feel like shit when I'm around a lot of other people, but we have to get more comfortable with that stuff. We have to go beyond our comfort zone. We all do. That's what alienation is, and that's what alienation does, and that's why capitalism is so strong right now. Capitalism needs us to be isolated and disconnected and uncomfortable with one another, but we need to fight that fear. We need to socialize to be socialists. Open your door, go outside, meet some comrades, and get some stuff done. As the great leftist YouTube theorist Mexie says, move at the speed of trust. Trust is everything. Don't work with comrades you don't trust, but find comrades you can trust. A small team of dedicated leftists who trust each other will get much more done than some massive network of strangers. Build a small team and grow carefully, but grow. Build dual power structures. Start designing and building systems that exist and function outside of the state and these established power structures. Start a food bank, or start fixing people's houses. Start a bicycle cooperative. Build shit, fix shit, hack shit. Learn to work with your hands again. Don't wait for other people to do things. If you don't like something about your neighborhood, get some people together and go do something about it. You don't even have to tell them you're a leftist or an anarchist. Just get your neighbors together and show them that they don't need to wait for other people to come rescue them. Show them that we together as a working class can govern ourselves and solve our own problems. Don't ask for permission. Don't be afraid. Organize locally. Local politics are amazing. You might not be able to do shit about Donald Trump or Brexit or any of that crap, but you can meet some of your neighbors, and you can show up at a city council meeting, and you can make things happen. Now, I know this firsthand. I was very heavily active in my city council back when I lived in the United States, and I know that you can get things done.
The leadership in this city is currently not the sort of people that I would want pushing this kind of an agenda forward.
These are the people that want to be reintegrated back into society. These are the people who definitely, would be benefited by the transitional facility. These are the people who we need to look at, examine, and figure out how we can help them to get back into society.
If you can get enough people together, you can absolutely have an impact on your local community, but you have to act and organize. Remember that every second that you're not out there working and organizing and agitating and pushing things forward, there's some Nazi out there who is. Stop asking for advice, stop looking for leaders, stop double guessing yourself. No more analysis paralysis, just go do shit. You don't need a leader to tell you what to do, lead yourself. Don't wait around for the permission or for advice. You know what you and your coworkers and your neighbors need more than any YouTuber or writer or philosopher could ever know. So go out and make that shit happen. If you're sitting around waiting for a revolution to come to you, if you are too afraid of losing what little you have to fight for your freedom, or if you need a leader to tell you what to do, then please don't call yourself a leftist. It doesn't matter what you think or believe or what you want or wish would happen. A revolutionary is defined by action. As Che Guevara put it, the revolution is not an apple that falls when it is ripe. You have to make it fall. Now make it fall.
Divide and specialize. One man to make one part, one to make another. A new method of dividing the labor to let the American maker work more quickly.
The left has been de-skilled. We don't know. Look at, like, one of the things that kills me is, like, you look at the Black Liberation Army. They were breaking motherfuckers out of jail and then smuggling them to Cuba. Anybody on the left can do that now? Hell no. They don't know how to they don't know nothing. We've lost the ability to build safe houses. We've lost the ability to create secret codes. We've lost the ability to tell when the police. We've lost all this trade craft, all the physical mechanisms of actually running a revolutionary thing. Same way with firearms, same way with everything like that. We've lost all that technical knowledge in favor of abstract theoretical ideas.